All right, am I on? Yes, okay. All right, guys, this is just going to be a really quick, short, and dirty presentation. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Jay Wilson. I'm the lead BI developer and consultant over at Onyx Reporting. You can reach out to me at jae@onyxreporting.com. And today, I'm just really quickly going to show you how to optimize user-defined hierarchies in Jet Enterprise. Now, if all this is Greek to you and you don't really know what a user-defined hierarchy is, that's fine. Call your local SQL DBA or your BI developer. They hopefully know what a user-defined hierarchy is, and they'd probably be pretty keen to know how you can implement that in the cubes that you're building using Jet Enterprise. But let's take a quick look at a user-defined hierarchy. If I'm looking at, in this case, the sales cube, and I'm like, for example, looking at, say, cost, and I say, okay, well, I want to slice cost by customer. I can find the sell to customer dimension over here on the right, and I can drop in, customer number, and I could say, oh, well, I want to see customers grouped by country and possibly city, right? And we can create a drill down here where I can, roll things up by country and city and so on. But while this does work, manually putting in this hierarchy, manually is less performant than if you used what's called a user-defined hierarchy. So what exactly is a user-defined hierarchy? What does it look like? In your cubes, when you have a roll-up like this guy, sell to customer by salesperson, and when I click the drop-down and I automatically customers rolled up into salespersons, this is what's called a user-defined hierarchy. And from the performance perspective, there's technology at play under the covers that makes this more performant than if I had manually gone in and added first salesperson on customer card and then customer. This is slower than the other way around. Now, to be fair, for smaller data sets, you won't notice a large difference in performance, but as your data scales, and especially if you're using an older computer or an older server, right, you might start noticing performance differences if you optimize your cubes. The most common user-defined hierarchy, if you haven't looked at salesperson, customer by salespersons, the most common user-defined hierarchy is obviously date, YQND, date, year, quarter, month, and day, right? That roll-up is a very natural roll-up. We all understand what it is, and we kind of assume that it should be there for us. Now that said, if you're working with your BI developer and you say, hey, dude, I would love to have a user-defined hierarchy for customers rolling into cities and countries, like I just demonstrated, you can go into the Jet Data Manager, find your customer dimension, and add a hierarchy. Super easy. So I'll go in here, I'll call it by country, and then I'll add country, city, customer. Okay, that's how easy it is to define a hierarchy here. You'll just make sure that you can see it, make sure that it's sorted largest to smallest. You deploy and execute your dimension. You'll deploy and execute the sales cube in this case. We'll jump back to our cube here. Let me refresh. and pull in here under sell to customer. Notice now I have two user-defined hierarchies. I have the by salesperson that we looked at earlier, and now I have the by country that we just implemented. How cool is that? Okay. If given the option, it just makes sense to define these user-defined hierarchies because, as I said, you'll get better performance out of SQL Server analysis services if you have these user-defined hierarchies in place. Now, if you do have a BI developer in-house, he'll say, oh man, I used to do that in Visual Studio. Visual Studio and Jet Data Manager are not synonymous, but Jet Data Manager replaces Visual Studio as a place that you're going to do development work. But one of the tools that I really like in Visual Studio that doesn't exist in the Jet Data Manager is you can check on the health of your hierarchies. So check this out. If I go to File, Open, Analysis Services Database, as you know, you can connect to an SSAS cube. By the way, if you didn't know this, Jet Data Manager, Jet Enterprise, it just builds on SQL Server Analysis Services. So everything that you know how to do in Visual Studio, you just do it in Jet Data Manager. But you just build the same artifacts, the processes, like the stuff you have to know how to do, it's all the same. And I can scroll down here and I can find my customer dimension. There it is. Right? And I can see here it's got my two hierarchies set up, but notice these warning triangles. And if you read the warning triangle, it says attribute relations do not exist. Whoop, come back. Do not exist between one or more levels of the hierarchy. This may result in decreased query performance. So even though I did the right thing in Jet Data Manager in terms of creating that hierarchy, that was good, but there's one more step left where I have to create attribute relationships. Those of you who are BI developers, this should be old hat for you, right? You're supposed to come in here and say, okay, cities are related to countries, customers are related to salespersons, right? We're supposed to create these relations so that when I go back to my structure, I can see the error message has gone away for this hierarchy. And then to make this hierarchy work, I have to create a relationship between the salesperson and the customer number. And again, when I go back to my dimension structure, now these error messages have gone away. Now I could deploy these changes from Visual Studio back to the SSAS cubes. But if you do that, the next time you deploy and execute in Jet Data Manager won't memorize your changes, won't remember your changes because you haven't programmed that into the Jet Data Manager project. In any case, what we really need to do is we need to make these attribute relations exist in the Jet Data Manager project. So here, to create attribute relations, find the customer dimension, right-click, advanced dimension level relations. And even though the interface is a little bit different than Visual Studio, right, it doesn't look like this drag and drop business here, we're going to do some dragging and dropping over here. We'll say, okay, countries are related to cities, customer numbers are related to customers, and salespersons are related to customers. Right? We just create that hierarchy of dimension level relations. I shouldn't say hierarchy, I should say relations. You just create the relationships here in the project, and then when you deploy and execute, next time I reconnect to the SSAS cubes in Visual Studio, we should see this attribute relationship in place. So I'm going to go File, Open, Analysis Services Database. Let me wait for this to finish executing. All right, I'm going to reconnect to my OLAP. No, I'm not going to save changes. Let's find our customer dimension. And And hopefully, if we deploy the dimension relations in Jet Data Manager correctly, we shouldn't see any errors. And when I go to attribute relations, I should see that the relationships have already been created. At the end of the day, the end user won't notice a difference. They won't know if you put in the attribute relations. They would only notice, hopefully, that performance got better. Performance was faster when they were querying the cubes. In any event, my name is Jay Wilson. I'm the lead consultant over at Onyx Reporting. You can always email me at jae@onyxreporting.com. What I wanted to share with you guys really quickly is how you can optimize user-defined hierarchies in Jet Enterprise by leveraging the skills that your BI developer knows very well from having worked in Visual Studio. That was the end of the presentation. I'll catch you guys later. Cheers.